exactly this GitHub Copilot is working, it's always fascinate me. So what are the architecture behind that? How we can understand what we should do to create our own uh, GitHub Copilots, and what are the need to do that, right? So whenever we are doing, after sometimes not on the GitHub Copilots, there are multiple IDs that we have internally. They are using some open source LLM as well, which are producing the suggestions or explanations about your codes and all, right? So what are the code behind? How exactly this is working? So we are going to build the same system here, and instead of calling that OpenAI only, we will use our local LLM as well. So today we are trying to build a AI assistant, uh, which Copilot, GitHub Copilot is providing right now. We are trying to build that our own, right? So let's understand uh, how exactly the current system we have, right? So I'm trying to build a code faster, learn better one block, which I usually do when I read anything related with AI and all. So right, so let's first go to the LLM. So whenever we write that code in our code editor, it's basically internally invoke one extensions that are already there installed in that particular ID. Right now we are taking it's a Visual Studio. So it will call an extension, and inside that particular extension uh, there is a LLM call, right? So LLM will get called with some specific sets of uh, prompts, right? And then it will return to that extensions, and then we get a return from in our code editor. Similarly, in the case of local LM, the approach is same, only in the place of this OpenAI we will use our local LM. Okay, so how exactly we are going to do it? So there are some components, like we will use the Visual Studio features extensibility, where we will use that extensive features, uh, uh, right? Packages, commands, and the WPF components, right? And then the both components will communicate with each others, and the VS Studio is provide extensibility. So we'll add that extensibility in our Visual Studio code, and when we invoke that, it will basically internally it will call to that OpenAI or local LLM, and then responses back. Okay, so for local LLM, we will use the Llama 3.2, and how we are doing it here in my local machine, we will go through that as well. But let's understand what we are doing here. So whenever user invoke a commands, it will go to that VS commands. This is extensibility command class that we have, right? We will have to write that code. I will show you. So from there, we will ask the users to provide we will provide that model, right? Which types of model they he wants to uh, opt, right? And then on the basis of that, we will return that particular settings, and then it will move to that suggestions window. So before the suggest there, and there is a code that we have written here in the command class that will basically internally call on the basis of setting whether it should go to that OpenAI or should go to the local LLM. As I said that the local LLM will use Llama 3.20 and G, and for the closed one, this is OpenAI GPT-4o Mini. Okay, for Mini we'll have to provide that key. For local there is no need to provide any key. Now once we'll get that response, the response will capture it here in the VS Code, and then we'll respond it back to that from where it's actually get called to the main threads. So first of all, user will have to select that particular codes and then invoke that particular commands through the packages, extensibility packages, and then in the extensibility package, sorry, we call this settings. In the settings, basically we ask the users to provide the model of by which they want to get the suggestions, or the improvement in the specific code, and then on the basis of that response from the respective LLM models, we will fetch and send it back to that particular main threads on that window. Okay, now this is the whole explanation that I have written it here as well. Okay, and this is the Hugging Face. So let me go here, Hugging Face models. This is the one of the model, which is basically a Llama 2 model only. It's a trained on, you go here on the Hugging Face, you will see it. So basically it is also trained on 2.0 only, and mm, 2.0 with some new sets of data. It was fine-tuned for to provide that code and other as well. You can play around uh, with it as well, right? And how we can do it? We'll have to first download this model in our local. Okay, run it in our LM Studio, which will provide an APIs, uh, API endpoints, and then we will call that endpoints in our class. Okay, in our command class. And once we'll get that response, we will pass it to that particular suggestion windows, and then in the suggestions window, the users can select apply to that code, to the main thread code on the main windows, or they can reject or right. So let's see how exactly it's working, and then we'll go inside that code as well. So let me, so this is the LM Studio where we will run. So you can see I'm running this model, right? LLM 3.0 instruct, right? Now let me go and run this. This is our code base, and in this code base, let's select this code, right? So we want to optimize this code or get the explanation whatever that is written inside that code. So instead of going to that the GPT model, what we can say that he, here I have added one more options, menu options through that extensibility features of Visual Studio extensions VSISX, and you can click it here. Sorry, I have started it as a debug time. Okay, now let's go here, suggest me. So here, see, it's asking me the local model or open. So this is the one of the setting window, WPF controls, where we are asking that which models they want to choose. Okay, so if they will choose the OpenAI, they can add that OpenAI key. Let's proceed with the Hugging Face local LLM, and inside that local LLM we are using Llama. So we'll set it, and now you can see it here. Whatever the request, it's it's generating, right? So this is the request that we sent. Improve and explain. See the C# code. So this is the code that we passed in the request, and that we want whatever what we want to generate, explain this, right? So it's ready. So let's move. See, so we are getting a suggestions here. Here is that code. This is suggested by uh, uh, Llama 3.2, and now we can click and apply. So this is our code base where we want to improve that code part as well. There are some improvements are still required in my code. It is only for the demo purpose how we can build it. So if I will apply, it will change this code. So see, this is the same thing happening when we ask the code to get the help from uh, GitHub Copilot, right? And now let's understand how we have written that code, right? So you guys will have to first create VSX projects, and inside that VSX projects, this is the one of the core file, VSCT file, right? So inside that VSCT file, you will have to write this buttons, which buttons that you want to get. So you saw that, right? Suggest me options that we are getting, right? So here we are getting the suggest me options. See, suggest me options, right? So whenever you will click it here, so there is some class that we have written it here, and what exactly, once you will click, it will execute. When it will execute, it will call to that setting window. Inside that setting window, we are asking that users to give that either OpenAI key or local LLM, right? So we'll receive that whatever the users have selected, it will capture it here through that get active text resource, right? So once we'll get it, we'll go to that particular code. Sorry. Now, if the user has selected OpenAI, we will ask the OpenAI library to fetch those details. And here we are using this GPT, right? GPT-4 mini. And when user will ask uh, to use the llama, so sorry, Hugging Face model. So we will use this model since we are running this on LM Studio with this model only, and you can see this is the endpoints, right? So you will get that response, everything's here, and then we'll revert it in the response. And once we'll send it back, it will go and paste it in our parent window from where we are calling it, right? So this is the overall architecture how we can build our system, and you can upload in the Visual Studio Marketplace, sorry, in the Microsoft Marketplace as well for other user as well. So I'm planning to do it, but there are some changes are required. So I'm trying to do it. There are some fine tunes are required related with the OpenLLM and all at my end, so that I can use in my day-to-day life in my coding, right? So instead of asking, because there are multiple, so we cannot ask, right? Uh, we cannot send to chat GPT because there are some security concerns are involved. We cannot copy and paste our code, our company code, right, in the chat GPT. So instead of going to that online, we can directly use this tool in our Visual Studio and leverage this, right? So yeah, thank you everyone. So I will say in this I will paste the details, the GitHub code as well in the description. I will try to paste it. So I'm trying to some fine tunes, some modifications in the code is still required. So I'm trying to do that. And yes, I will do that. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.